Hello there, it is the 5th of October, Saturday, and I welcome you to the only show that brings you happiness in the world of diplomacy and international relations, diplomatic affairs. My name is Harriet Nati. The show comes up every Saturday on Pan-African Television, also on our Facebook and YouTube channel. So wherever you find yourself in the world, you can always catch up with us and get to know what is happening when it comes to the diplomatic community, Ghana's development partners, and of course at the multilateral level. So everything around diplomacy and international relations, this is your go-to place for the latest in the world of diplomacy and international relations. Well, today we have so much that we will be sharing with you. The Middle East is in focus this evening. We also have Heritage Day celebrated by South Africans, which will be featuring on today's show. Also, the German ambassador to Ghana, His Excellency Daniel Krall, has added his voice to the Galamsey menace to stop for us to be able to preserve our water bodies. We cannot stand the idea of having to import water. So we have an exclusive with him where I sat with him to discuss this and other related issues. So Osagyefo's night finally has come to pass. Last night was just an amazing evening. If you missed, maybe you should start getting ready. Put it on your calendar for next year. I'll take a break. When I come back, I have all the details for you. Welcome back. To begin with, let's take you to the Middle East. Violence has escalated in the Middle East following Israel's intensification of attacks against Hezbollah in Lebanon. The recent strikes have killed dozens, displaced thousands, and culminated in the assassination of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. Despite calls for de-escalation and prevention of further violence from erupting, fears are growing that continued skirmishes could lead to an all-out war. That is the situation in the Middle East. And of course, you know, we need an expert, an industry player, to help us really understand the current situation or crisis in the Middle East. My question is, how is Africa affected in all of this? And even back home, how is Ghana also affected? Don't forget, we have some Ghanaians who are in the Middle East, domestic workers, and of course, some in other sectors. We would like to know how Africa is going to be affected by the current situation in the Middle East. With us is one of our go-to persons, Farouk Al-Wahab, who is joining us via Zoom for us to really understand the situation in the Middle East. Hello, good evening, sir. Hello, good evening. All right, so I'm still waiting to get through to our resource person who is joining us this afternoon on Diplomatic Affairs for us to look at the situation in the Middle East. Also, we will be talking about Ghana government's decision to call for Ghanaians to be evacuated from Lebanon since the situation is moving towards that area. So we'll be talking about this as well. We'll look at the details of the presser which has been issued and the measures that have been introduced so far. If my resource person is on the line, I can hear you. Hello, good evening, sir. Hello. All right, it is becoming very difficult for me to hear my resource person from the other end of the phone, so I might have to jump to the next item on my lineup today, and just so the technical guys can see if they can be able to resolve the technical issues that we are faced with. Hello?
Hello.
Right, finally. Good evening to you.
Good evening, my dear. How are you?
I am very well, sir. How have you been?
Perfect. Everything's okay. What about you?
I am doing wonderful. I am doing wonderful. So I would want us to talk about the situation or crisis in the Middle East. The latest from Ghana is that the government has issued a presser actually calling for the evacuation of Ghanaians from Lebanon. Before we delve into the general happenings in the Middle East, we would like to understand, have a fair idea of what is happening. Why are we here at this time?
Good evening to you and then your cherished listeners, your good self, and then the entire your followers watching this particular program. Why is happening today? First, we are here because we decided to be here. We are here because certain laws and we are here because the world seems not to like peace. And that would be brief comments if I'm to summarize why we are here. If it is about the details leading to why we are here, that is another. Why we are here, I think the world itself does not want peace. And for that matter, some of these things are just like already an air in a balloon, and we keep pumping. The balloon smaller than the air bigger than the balloon itself. So it turns or it ends up finally blowing up into pieces. And I think that is what practically we're experiencing if that person was rightly answered. That is why. I mean, it's all about you haven't introduced the topic itself, but in a broad sense of why are we here, then I think you are trying to discuss maybe peace or otherwise in the Middle East, if that is what you are referring to.
That will be escalation of violence in the Middle East.
Yes. I think the world is aware, including your good self, why the Middle East is always under fire. The events leading to the happenings or the current happenings have to do with Israel and Palestine issue. The Israeli-Palestinian war, call it, had been as a result of historically which country or which of them, it's a state, which of them is recognized and which of them is not recognized. What is a declaration or Israel was declared as a state in 1948? Palestine had also demanded state, but that was turned down. It was turned down by no other country, by Israel. And it was turned down because certain forces at the time, and I'm talking about the superpowers, including i.e. United States, UK, France, and other countries, did not, or they did not want to accept the position of the state. There are smaller nations like South Sudan. There are smaller nations like Namibia, which this world order supported for them to have an independent nation, like having their and having their own. In terms of population-wise, then one would say that the number of the total population of Palestine, it is equally as that of Israel, or more than that. It looks up together. Of Palestine outside Palestinian land, and then for the population of Israel outside Israeli land, it comes back to the same. So if under the UN Charter, whereas certain group of people, including the Nauru Island, including the Island, including Vanuatu, which the United Kingdom made sure that they were a country fully fledged, declared independent nation in 1980. with a population of less than 200,000, how much more the same order, the same norms, the same application is not extended to a population more than, let's say, 7-8 million, with outside population around 15 million or 12 million in rough calculations. So this is where the issue is. The Palestinians have declared that we want to have our independence. We want to be called a Palestinian state. In 1964, when there was a formation, after Israel in 1948 was declared or was established or formed as an Israeli state, the same thing that they tried until 1964, that they decided to have the Politburo or political bureau established, called the PLO. Quickly after that establishment, it was declared as a terrorist organization. Was that the first terrorist organization that was declared? WAPO, Southwest African People's Organization, led by some Nujuma, was declared also terrorist organization. Samora Machel's Mozambique was also declared also a terrorist organization. Many other things. So it is a very simple thing that when it is in advantage or when it satisfies a certain particular group or groups or states, that one is allowed. But then when it's against the others, that is why I see the word order, which should not be the case. Back to the history. In 1964, when they tried to form the PLO, we know how it was named or it was tagged and dubbed as what? A terrorist organization. Yasser Arafat at the time, with his PLO members, etc., they could not have the PLO inside Palestine. Where did they first host it? They tried to host it in Jordan. But then, of course, King Hussein, the Jordan king at the time, has to use the Jordanian army on the instructions of the United States, on the instructions of Israel and other forces, that they have to expel them. Jordan ended up expelling the PLOs from the island. Where did they go? They moved around other places and they settled in Hammamet in Tunisia. They were chased, they were bombed because it was branded terrorist organization. But then the definition of what was a terrorist organization at that time was still until today had not been given. Why? Because if a political bureau or a certain group wants a declaration, want an independence, want self-determination, that yes, we want to have our own independence and rule and determine what we want. Whereas all these things are enshrined in the Charter of the UN, all over, either the Geneva Accord or the Vienna Accord or the New York Accord, all of them put together, it still tells that individual group of people, community, or a particular tribe, even tribal settings, when they feel disenfranchised and they have the numbers and they have the resources to live as people, they should be granted the permission. But to some extent, it does not happen. The story is not different from the Ambassadors of Cameroon, which the friendship today does not allow. But if you look at the English side, it is another typical example.
Right.
So when Yasser was chased out from Tunisia, then followed up until how many of the Israeli prime ministers at the time, from Ben-Gurion time, all the time, Israel had then already established the Mapai Party. The Mapai Party established in way back, bringing how do we call it, Ben-Gurion and others. All of them had consistently, systematically said, and then they made sure that Palestine would not be declared as a state or would not be. So let us ask a simple question. It is not a state. They do not and they are not allowed to have a passport. They do not and they are not allowed to have an identity card.
If you can hear me, Farouk.
On the modern day of the 21st century, there is any group. Yes.
If you can.
If there are a group of persons. You get me?
Right.
If there are a group of persons, individuals, running into millions of people, let's say about 6 million people, and none of them is allowed to hold passports. None of them is allowed to have their own legitimate government. They are not to have a police station. They are not allowed to have airports. They are not allowed to have, let's say, a seaport. And one who have to determine when they have to sleep and when they have to wake up. Then the question is thrown at you, that how is it possible that a Ghanaian child of 2 years is allowed to hold a passport, and adults of 70, 80 years, they've never seen a passport before because they are not allowed.
Now, Farouk,
yes.
If I may come in, because we would like to also focus on other happenings on the show today, or updates on the show today, I wanted us to have a fair idea, take a look at the background as to how things started up until this point. Now, my question is that with the background, with the brief background that you have given us, I would want to find out, with the active involvement and complicity of actors, could this deteriorating situation lead to an all-out war? Is that what we are witnessing right now?
Okay. The funny aspect of it that most people do not want to talk about it is the fact that Iran-Iraq war, which country in the Middle East supported Iran to fight Iraq, giving intelligence so that Iran could launch precision of missiles on the soil of Iraq? It was Israel. Israeli Defense Force, Israeli Mossad, they were friends of Iran. So how did it happen? How was Hamas formed? Which countries formed Hamas to fight against PLO? Let the world answer. So where we are today, it is as confusing and very shrouded with confusion. Up to, in another breath, one time, Israel was a friend of Iran. Very good friends. One should ask where and how that today they are not friends. If they supported Iran to fight Iraq at that time, where did they break up? How was Hamas became Israeli, how do we call it, Iranian sponsor? So in 1987, when Hamas was formed, where was Israel and how was Israeli friendship with Iran? How did Iran come to support Hamas? How did they establish Hezbollah? Was Hezbollah not also today that they are a proxy of support assistance from Iran? So where we are now is very fine, but it's very funny at the same time, because there is a war between Hamas and Israel. And as the world order should determine and explain how Hamas was formed and how Israel was close to Hamas when they were fighting the Sarah fight the PLO. That one is one. How the same Hamas was sponsored and financed by Iran, and Israel at that time was a friend of Iran, helping Iran to fight with Iraq. Hezbollah formed by Hamas, formed by Iran or sponsored by Iran. Hezbollah was also Iran proxy. So how that now Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran on one side against Israel? How does it happen? Let me tell you, it is not as if this war cannot come from him. It is a matter that certain countries and world order does not want this war to end. Because one, the fight of the Middle East did not start with Hamas, did not start with Palestinian and Israel. It started even way back with Israel and Egypt. So we should ask, in 1967, in years back, how many times did Israel fight with Egypt? Back to back. They entered Alexandria. They fought. Over 15,000 Egyptians were slaughtered, were murdered. Thousands of them were Israelis that were killed. Until it took which and who? American government that settled that impasse. It took Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, 1977, Jimmy Carter up to 1981. He managed the Camp David Accord that brought Israel, that brought Egypt Anwar Sadat on the other side, back to back. The war came to a final end until today as we speak. Israel and Egypt, they've been in peace. America and Egypt have always been in peace. So how possible that the same energy, the same strategy, the same spirit could not be extended, could not be issued, could not be facilitated? Could not be. There can be any decorum. Are we saying that if Jimmy Carter was able to do it, Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale, their government, what did Jimmy Carter say? He said, you obey the laws, you keep the peace, and you don't know enemies. And under his government for 4 years in the history of the United States, no missiles was launched, no bomb was dropped, and no bullets were shot under Jimmy Carter's government, making it one of the most peaceful in the history of the United States. What happened? He short-lived only one term of 4 years, bringing in Ronald Reagan. From Ronald Reagan's time till today, including one of the most perfect diplomatic United States president, Bill Clinton, my man, even guns were shot, missiles were launched, etc. So it brings us back to ask questions that when United States president is sworn in and given about 6 flags, the first flag given is the flag to the president himself. The second one being the flag of the America. What is the third flag? The flag of the Navy, the flag of the Air Force, the flag of what? The Marines, and then the flag of the coastal guides. When these flags are given to them, at the end of their tenure, you realize that they are streamers of events, what happened during their regime, the fights they fought, the bombs they threw, etc., comes under each of the flags. Jimmy Carter never had one because he said that he would maintain peace. So I'm asking, can Joe Biden do the same thing? I'm asking, why at the end, when Ishaq Rabin, when Shimon Peres, all the time when the party of Labour in Israel in power, they try to push the agenda for peace, two-state affair. But when is the Likud and then other minority parties that Herod and others that had coalition with Likud, and all the time there's a fight. And it's also coincide with some of the American presidents. And I'll give you the background rationale. That Jimmy Carter did during his time, there was nothing.
Okay.
So Middle East. So if today we want to find peace, we should ask His Excellency Joe Biden, who will be living in a month.
All right.
What is he living for the world?
All right. What will be his legacy, if that's the question you are asking? But Farouk, before I let go of you briefly, we have just 1 minute to let go of you. Will this ever stop? When will this ever stop? Just in 1 minute, please.
It can never stop, and it is not to be stopped, and it is not meant to be stopped. And the answers have already been given. In short, if Israel-Egypt peace was made possible, Palestine peace is possible. And if Palestine peace is possible, you ironically see that either a suspicion of Iran acquiring nuclear warhead, etc., all these suspicions, all these insinuations would not be there. It is because of the fact that the suspicion is there. And the suspicion is there because they all know the kind of games they played before. And the kind of games they played before have asked why Israel had been a friend and a brother, an intelligence sharing partner with Iran, with Hezbollah, with Hamas. And today, the three of them are all fighting against one another. It means, therefore, that something fishy, something has to be told. And
Right, so that was our resource person, Farouk Al-Wahab, an international relations consultant who was sharing insights or providing insights on the situation in the Middle East. Right now, we are seeing things are not really turning out to be good, and of course it appears that the world is making efforts in every way possible to see how best we can resolve this. Now, I asked the question, what is the fate of Africa or even Ghanaians in the Middle East? Some of them are in Lebanon, in Syria, in Qatar, all over. What is the fate of Africa in all of this? So if you sit and you think that this does not concern you, or you are far from where events are unfolding when it comes to the situation in the Middle East, then you are wrong. You are somehow affected by the current crisis in the Middle East. So that was our resource person, Farouk Al-Wahab, sharing or providing insights on the situation. Well, thank you very much, Farouk Al-Wahab, for your time. Thank you so much. I believe as events unfold, we will be coming to you again to get your expertise on the latest at every given time. All right, so I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I will bring you the next story on our lineup.
It's also a little bit of a cliche. I mean, we're all used to the James Bond scene, as it were. But
right, so away from the not so pleasant situation or crisis in the Middle East, let's look at some positive gesture or some more pleasant happenings when it comes to the African continent. What is happening? One of such occasions will be the Heritage Day celebration, which is celebrated by South Africans. The interesting thing is that South Africans are looking at the diverse culture in order to be able to push for unity and of course development. So South Africa has held its Heritage Day celebrated on September 24th annually to showcase the country's unique culture and using it to promote unity and development. We had the opportunity to be at the residence of the South African High Commissioner to Ghana's event when he invited us to be present and of course provide media coverage. We had the opportunity to speak with her briefly on the occasion of Heritage Day celebration. Take a look.
Of September every year, we celebrate South Africa culture. In South Africa, we've got 11 official languages. We have got 12 cultures, different cultures. And this is a time where we come together and are united. In our diversity, we are united. And as you can see, the outfit I'm wearing today is the traditional cloth of the Khoisan people. These are the first indigenous inhabitants of South Africa. From where I sit right here in Ghana, we're already doing it. We come together during Africa Day, come and exhibit our culture, our cuisines, it's cultural diplomacy. We do this as the African diplomats that are here in Accra. We use that, and we use that as a catalyst as well to display who we are as people. And we are inextricably linked. We are one people with the same purpose and the same destiny in this continent. So definitely cultural diplomacy. As you can see, I'm wearing my father's culture. We are one people with the same purpose and the same destiny in this continent. So definitely cultural diplomacy. As you can see, I'm wearing my father's culture.
Straight on. So that was the South African High Commissioner to Ghana, His Excellency Grace Janet Mason, giving us some South African dance, where I jumped in to see how I could, learn a few things of the dance moves from her. But it was a great event, and it's a super great idea for any country to begin to pay attention to its heritage and, of course, culture in promoting unity and development. This is worth replicating. So congratulations, Excellency. Now, let's talk about something more interesting. Yeah, that was also interesting. But let's move away from South Africa and now to Ghana. Even though South Africa is still featuring when it comes to this particular conversation, let's talk about something very interesting when it comes to events, in the country. Last night was just amazing. I keep using the word amazing because I do not know how else to actually share with you the experience that I had, and of course the people who came in to enjoy this concert. Let's talk about the Osagyefos Night. The third edition of Osagyefos Night concert has been held at the Alliance Francaise here in Accra. The event, headlined by artist Trigmatic, celebrated the invaluable contributions of Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, to arts and theatre. Now, joining me is the man behind this initiative, the third edition. So I would like to engage him via Zoom. Today, all my guests are joining me via Zoom. And of course, thanks to technology, this is the new way to get people to still join us, virtually, for us to have our conversation. So let me find out if my guest is on the line. All right, so I'm going to take you to what transpired at the Alliance Francaise. When we come back, we will speak to the man behind this great initiative.
We are here to celebrate late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's legacy, music, arts and theatre. Allow me to highlight that Dr. Nkrumah spearheaded the Gold Coast independence movement and its transformation into modern-day Ghana. He inspired subsequent independence movements throughout Africa. He became Ghana's first prime minister in 1952 to 57, and later its first president in 1957. For us from Zimbabwe, we are very grateful to this late Pan-Africanist because our first group of guerrilla fighters were trained here in Ghana. In fact, they were trained just behind this building. Just behind this building. Our first freedom fighters were trained by Nkrumah. I asked the people who know our history, they brought me and showed me, there's a place just behind here, next door to the new Shell garage. That is where they were trained. That was in 1962. Dr. Nkrumah supported the liberation efforts of Southern Africa through material, financial, diplomatic contributions through the OAU Liberation Committee, which was based in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania then. By supporting the Southern African liberation movements, I'm talking about supporting Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique, Angola, because those were the countries that were left without independence after decolonization. Most of the rest of the continent got independence, but those countries that I've mentioned remained under apartheid and racist regimes and the Portuguese colonial regimes in Angola and Mozambique.
So, yes, now that you have an idea of what transpired last night at the Alliance Francaise, I'm sure you are like, you should have been there. Yes, you should have been there. You missed. We had fun, but not just fun. For me, as an international relations journalist, I am very much interested in anything that seeks to promote diplomacy on the African continent, on any initiative that seeks to bring us together by way of integration, whether economic integration, the creative industry integration, integration on all fronts. And I penned down a lot of things. It wasn't just the normal concert organized every now and then. This one was interspersed with some kind of intellectual conversations, thought-provoking moments, history and culture. I learned so much last night, and I want to be able to share that with you. I'm happy that we have the man himself. In real life, he is Nana Yaw, Enoch Nana Yaw J. Odru, and of course his stage name is Trigmatic, and he is joining us on the show as we speak. Hello, Trigmatic.
Hi.
Hi, good to have you on Diplomatic Affairs, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Good to be here.
Right. I'm so much in a hurry. Now, first of all, I was trying to contain my excitement. I'm still reeling from last night. And I'm trying to take it easier on myself. But you see, this is the third edition. Osagyefos Night is the third edition. And I'm just wondering, first and foremost, I would like to find out from you what actually inspired this great initiative that celebrates the man, the myth, and the person, Kwame Nkrumah.
Well, thank you for the question. But basically, it's the many good things that he's done, his contributions toward the creative arts industry, his love for art, and his usage of art through his governance is worth admiring. And I think that it was very important, or it is very important, to highlight some of the beautiful things that he's done over that within that period when he was president. I'm bold to say he's been the only president that have actually initiated and instituted things that will directly and indirectly affect the creative arts industry, even till now. Some of the agencies that we have were formed by him, and so rightfully done. We did a good job by celebrating and eulogizing the man himself on a yearly basis. We wish we could even do more. So yeah, that's what inspired or motivated us to do.
Now, in your brief speech last night on the stage, you mentioned that Dr. Osagyefo was the only president or the prime minister who could just travel outside the country on any national assignments, and he took, musicians, people from the art space, the industry with him. I mean, how can you shed some light on this? When I heard you say this, I was moved. I was like, this is a brilliant way to actually sell the country in terms of culture. And also given the fact that this is one of the ways to promote the Ghanaian culture and our identity.
Exactly. Yes, that's true. It's not a myth. It's there, and it's a story that everyone knows. Not just traveling with bands, but he also personally invested in certain musicians like Ibo Taylor, where he took them outside the country to learn music. And so he's, like I said, directly and indirectly affected the industry one way or the other. And he traveled with bands, and like you said, the idea was to sell our culture and to promote it at the same time. For me, I think that experience will not just sell culture, but it will also give the creatives a very high sense of belonging and importance. And I mean, for me, it's mind-blowing. It's just mind-blowing.
Move, by the former president of this country. Now, Kwame Nkrumah, you said, is not eulogized well enough when it comes to Ghana, because you are someone who you've traveled all over, almost the entire African continent. When I hear you share your experience from South Africa to Zambia to Uganda and all these other African countries, I get so overwhelmed by the fact that you have taken it upon yourself to actually delve into the culture when it comes to the African continent and also the people. Do you think that music is one of the ways as a tool to actually promote African unity and also development on the African continent? How can we do this with music or the arts?
Oh, well, I think it's already happening. I don't even think that it's a topic that we need like a whole time to discuss. But in a nutshell, it's already happening. It's been happening. It's just that unfortunately we haven't highlighted that as a tool for all of the things that you're saying, for unifying the economic value of it and what have you. But think about it. Years back, a lot of Ghanaians decided to start shooting videos in South Africa, because then it almost looked like they had shot it in the Western world. If I travel to South Africa and I decide to use a South African director, that is me doing business with another person from another country. We will employ a makeup artist, we'll employ a stylist from South Africa, and it's a country that has other nationals as well. And so you might have somebody from Zimbabwe, you might have somebody on set who's an artisan, you have a lighting guy, you have DOPs and what have you. And so it's already been happening. We just haven't highlighted it. And if I'm bold to say that it's been the only one mechanism or tool that has been able to be happening seamlessly without any borders or barriers, yet we have relegated it. Because I mean, I've been to a few African countries, or maybe most, like you said, and most of these places that I've been to is because of cultural exchanges. And so music is already making that happen. It's already happening. If I'm in Uganda and I go for an event at Blanket and Wine and I'm performing, that is Ghana in Uganda, because I don't perform only as Tregmatic, but I perform as Tregmatic who's Ghanaian, and I perform high life songs, which is a Ghanaian sound. And so we are not just exporting ourselves as human beings, but also everything that makes us Ghanaian. Because my costume, if I will wear something Ghanaian, then somebody will ask, oh, where is this coming from? So it's already happening when it comes to music. We just haven't highlighted it, or we just haven't given it that importance. When AFTA was launched, I was one of the few people that came out to say that, look, this is already happening with music, or within the music space. think about it. What has been the most spoken of thing in Africa or about Africans in the last 5 years till date? It's been music. It's been our brothers from Nigeria. It's been Ghanaian artists, it's been Sarkodie, Wizkid, what have you. It's been music. As much as it's entertaining and we want to make it look like it's an unserious craft, it is the only thing that nobody's talking about. African scientists, nobody's talking about African inventors or what have you. It's about the arts. And so it's about a time we decide to be intentional about using the art to promote other things.
Right. It's about time we become deliberate when it comes to using the arts to promote other things. And I'm glad you talked about the African Continental Free Trade Area as well. It appears when it comes to the soft power approach to getting things done, we don't really pay so much attention. We are all about the hardcore political events and all of that. But think about it. Actually, you would realize that you have the arts and theater, creatives, all of them roped in. So this is a great one. Now, before you go, let me ask you, how can we preserve his enviable legacy?
Yes, through some of the things that some of us have initiated. I think that it has to be encouraged.
Right.
On his birthday, which is on the 21st of September, we had a dialogue series where it's supposed to be an educational conversation. And so more of that should be encouraged, where when we had, I remember when the phone lines were open during that conversation, a lot of people said, oh, we didn't know he did this, we didn't know he did that, we didn't know that Ghana used to have this. And so we need, the education must go on. And it must go on devoid of personal interest, political interest, and what have you. It must go on so that it would also encourage other people to want to continue that legacy. Because it's not just about celebrating it or putting it out, but it's also about continuing what has started.
Right, absolutely. I think I agree with you on that level. Now, Trey, what should we expect next year? I was there and I am so happy that I could see this with my two eyes, and the crowd, the kind of audience you pulled, amazing crowd. Stakeholders from all sectors. You had the support of the Zimbabwean ambassador who serves as the Dean of SADC. You also had the support of the South African High Commissioner to Ghana, Her Excellency Grace Janet Mason, and they were just blown away. I'm sure that was their first time of having an encounter with something like this, just as, you know, I did. It was my first time as well. Now, what should we expect in the coming years? Next year, what should we expect? And does it end there, or are we looking at other things and, happening on the back of this?
Yes, a lot to be happening. We're already having calls to do this in other countries. And so we're going to take up and move into other countries with this, and it's going to continue all the way through to next year. The whole of next year, there's going to be the African tour for Osagyefo's Night. I think it's a start, and then more will come. The album is also coming, the EP is also coming. More conversations, more dialogues. Events like Music Speaks is also going to come because we need, as like I said, I'm not just an entertainer. I also use the music to disseminate information, and so all of that is going to happen. And then the fans who miss the music, they will get their music. Next year, there's an album coming. This year, before the year wraps up, there's also an EP coming.
All right, it appears there's a lot happening from your side. Well, thank you so much for your time, and once again, congratulations to you for this brilliant initiative. And I believe this is going to be replicated in other parts of Africa. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Sure. All right. Enoch Nana Yao Eje Odro, in real life, that's his name. Of course, his stage name is Strigmatic, and of course, we've been talking to him about the 3rd edition of the Osagyefo's Night. I was there, and it blows my mind how any young man in the music industry, could think of something like this, very sustainable, and it has, the touch of Africa. It has the touch of Ghana. It has culture. It has our heritage through storytelling and music. Amazing combination. We had fun. If you didn't come, well, next year, just make sure you jot it on your calendar so you can be part of the next edition. Okay then, so all too soon, I think this is where we will be drawing the curtain to today's production. Unfortunately, we could not exhaust all the topics on our program lineup for today's edition because of some delays, with regard to the connection, virtual meetings and all of that. But we are looking forward to bringing you the rest of all the things that we've put together next week on next week's show. My name is Harriet Nate. It is always a pleasure to have you join us as we bring you the latest in the world of diplomacy and international relations. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs, and I look forward to seeing you same time next week. Bye-bye.
Truly African.
Ha! How can we some look fast? Baba, me again. Let's go yale. Me call you mum. Who hear me? Menti me and sent my friend doctor when I'm crossing over. See what we swear. She has malaria. Malaria. Oh, what they say with the router? Me copy the absence here. A drone a friend router mixer. You come and ready a draw and running router. So
Gaftrap and the draw ku abaso body ase. Wabo router mixer abaso. Router natural products no ne router mixer. Ya e dikutia a 3D. Router tonic and the router life wa. E huhuru e finish la the body e fini pedua mu. Nasa support immune system no. Router de obi ase ye. FDA ade dwede nkra to ya tu.
पार्टी से धाव ऑनलाइन